Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife video for you. Today, we have a bit of a redux of a video I did more than a year and a half ago. These are my favorite fidget knives. Just knives that are fun to sit around and play with. You could call it, most fun knives, whatever you want to call it. Very wide range of prices here. Get that out of the way. If you see a lot of expensive stuff, there is a fair amount of expensive stuff in here, but we do have some budget offerings that are nearly as much fun as the expensive stuff to have. Also, these are all knives that I own, and also I'm trying to only include stuff that you can theoretically buy. At least if you can't right now, you will be able to again. I do have a lot of other ones, or a handful of other ones that are also very, very fun to play with and would make this list, but they are made of unobtainium. So I didn't want to put those on here. I don't like doing that to you guys. Also, I'm redoing this video right now because I'm recording this in April 2020, and not to be a downer, a lot of us right now at this time, due to the global pandemic situation, are stuck in our homes, and we want to have something fun to play with. And a lot of these are the knives that I have pulled out and I like to play with. A few of them here, I do want to say one more caveat, are indicative of a genre more than of that one in particular knife. But there's only a couple examples of that. I'll mention that when we get to it. I want to keep this intro short because I tried to make this only a top 10. It came out 15. It was the most I could cut it down. I apologize. I like fidgety knives, so I have a lot of them. But let's get going. First of all is the Spyderco Lil Native. And these are in no particular order other than the last one. The last one is definitely my favorite fidget knife, and I gave that the honor of being last. But the Spyderco Lil Native is a blast for two reasons. Number one, it's the smallest little compression lock you can get. It still does all the cool Spyderco things. You can Spidey flick it, you can thumb flick it. You can do you can just pull the compression lock, and flip it out. It's a little small, so it is a bit harder to manipulate. But my favorite thing about it is small. So you can carry this like in your fifth pocket. It's one of my absolute favorite fifth pocket knives. And if you have a bigger knife for more serious stuff, you still have it, and you still have this to sit around and play with. And they're just a blast. They do take a little while to break in. This one's pretty brand new. My older one, I put a lot of miles on, and once they get broken in, they're just as much fun to play with as a big old PM2 or something like that. And they're just really cool little knives. They're also pretty useful, but useful is not a criteria for this. But let's move on to the next one. These are about 126 bucks, by the way. Not inexpensive, not horrible, but pretty pricey for the size they are. I will admit that. But again, still one of my favorite fifth pocket knives, period, because it has that fidget factor. Next up, we will bring out the Zero Tolerance 0562 tie, specifically the tie. Why specifically the tie of the 0562? Because it makes this noise. That is immensely satisfying. And I can tell you that my microphone is not going to pick it up well enough. Not only does it make that noise while opening, it makes that noise while closing. As you can see, it's still great action. It's very, very smooth. It's very drop shutty. It is just a blast to sit and fidget with. The only thing that can make it better is if the thumb stud / blade stops were usable. They're really not. They're pretty much purely just blade stops, but and it's also a great Rickender design, great knife just to use, based loosely on the XM18. But just, none of my XM18s sound like this. It's one of my best sounding knives I've ever owned. If you guys want to see a redux of that list too, I did a video a long time ago about my best sounding knives. Let me know in the comments, but spoiler alert, this is going to be number one. I still just love the way this thing sounds. Can't forget it. Next up, that's by the way about 280 bucks. So again, pretty expensive. We're getting to budget stuff. Don't worry. Next one coming up is the Protec Mordax Mass Drop Ferrum Forge. I think it's technically the drop by Ferrum Forge by Protec Mordax, whatever it is. It's cool. And it is a button lock. And this is another one that is kind of indicative of the genre because these are a bit hard to get. I don't think they're on the drop site right now. You have to be a member and all that stuff, but button locks, period, are just a lot of fun because all you gotta do is just do that. And most of them fall right shut. This one especially so. There are a lot of other button locks that are a lot of fun. The CRKT Brian Ty knives are very drop shutty and fun to play with. Not so fun in other ways, but but they are very fun to play with. Tangram Vector, that was also a lot of fun, but I think this is probably the best button lock I've had. And for being an aluminum knife, it still makes pretty good noises. And it's also a pretty useful knife. It's very ergonomic and comfortable. And I do enjoy it. But these were about $240, and I'm sure they'll be back again. I haven't heard any reason why they wouldn't be. Drop, you know, kind of does a drop, waits a while, does another one. They've done 2 of this already. I had a silver prototype, and I sent it back and got this blue one. So I do really, really enjoy this knife a whole lot. It just makes good noises. Now the next one is also a Ferrum Forge design, and one that I just got back, and primarily because of its fidget factor. I just really missed it. This is the Wee Knives Malice. Another Ferrum Forge design, pretty simple, you know, ball bearing flipper, but it does have one little extra thing that I like about it. And again, just the action is so good. Almost as good a sound as the 0562 tie. Not quite, but it's close. Very drop shutty, great action. So it's another titanium flipper, but yeah, you can Spidey flick it very, very easily. It does have this kind of Oldsmobile grill thing on here. I wouldn't mind if those slots weren't there, but it doesn't really bother me that much. It does work well enough to flip it. Flick it, whatever word I want to say. I just really, really like sitting around fiddling with this. It makes great noises. It's also super comfortable and easy to use, and it's beautiful if you get this version in the flame. The regular one looks fine too, but I like the flame ano. They're like $275 to $285 depending on which finish you get. And it's got all that wee quality, all that stuff that you like. Great Ferrum Forge design. And it's a big old sucker too. It definitely is down to do some work. And the action is very, very good. Very smooth. Next up, now we're going to get to a budget one. This is one that was my biggest surprise of 2020 so far, and should have been my biggest surprise of 2019, because that's when they came out, and I should have gotten one sooner. This is the Bestech Texel. Just a really, really smooth, great action knife for 52 bucks. It is an Adam Purvis design. I just really, really like it. Action on it is, yeah, I didn't wrist flick that at all. You just rotate it and it closes. Same as you saw on the Malice, which cost what? Almost what? I can't even do math right now. 6 times as much. Flicks right out, very reliable. Another one, it's just a blast to play with for only 52 bucks, and a great workhorse of a knife too. Running on bearings, obviously. It's so good. The action on these things is so good. And it's, I think I said, still a great knife. D2 steel, 52 bucks. Go get you one of these. They're great. They do not get the attention that they deserve. Next up, I have 2 knives that are also part of the reason why I wanted to redo this video is I have more automatics now, and automatics are fun. No, of course, they're not going to be drop shutty because they got springs and all that stuff in them, but they're just really, really fun to play with, whether it's out the side or an OTF. First up is going to be a side deployment. It has to be a Protec. I love Protex. I have a couple, and I have a couple more here that I am evaluating, but this is definitely my favorite. This is the SBR. It's not a very big knife, but this thing, not to use a cliche, just kicks like a mule. That is just insane. Probably my best knife for annoying my wife. Well, second best knife for annoying my wife. Probably the next one is a little bit better, but this makes the most noise. This is one that I will be sitting and fiddling with, and my daughter from across the hallway will come out and say, "What are you doing?" Because, oh, that noise. Boom! It just rockets out. All Protecs rocket out pretty good, but in my experience, nothing quite like the SBR. I don't know if it's because that blade's a little thick and there's a little more weight going or whatever it is, or they put a harder spring in it, but man, this thing just, it's a blast. And they're not too bad if you buy a normal one. $170 is what about this one goes for. That's fine. But if you go into Protec goes crazy with some stuff, it's basically the price is $170 to infinity because they do some custom ones that are like hand engraved, one of ones. I've seen some of those go for, you know, 1,500 bucks and up on an SBR. So you can spend whatever you want on one of these, you know, with Damascus blades and all kinds of crazy, you know, jewels and gold and all kinds of stuff in them. But I like just the basic one. I think this is the most fun Protec that they make. But any side deployment OT or any side deployment auto is still a lot of fun, but not quite to the SBR level, in my experience so far. Next up, we have another one that's a bit indicative of the genre because I haven't handled a whole lot of OTFs, only a handful, but this is my favorite so far just to sit and fidget with. It's the Microtech UTX-85. I like the size of it. It's just that right amount of size. The UTX-70 deploys just as well as this, but in my hands, it's just a bit too small. So it's not really as fidgety and fun, but yeah, #1 wife annoyer there is. That's why it was in that funny little video we did. I'll try and remember to link to that at the end. It's just a blast. The springs on these are pretty tight. This one's starting to loosen it up pretty good. It's not nearly as bad as it was. Something like a Guardian Tactical. It's a little easier to deploy and a little easier to retract, but they just don't quite have the bang of this. They're darn close though. They may even feel a bit smoother than this, but I don't know. I just like the bang of the Microtech. And again, I like the size of this. I find the Ultratech to be a bit too big, the 70 to be a bit too small. This is my Goldilocks zone. And I just really enjoy this. But most OTFs, even like a, one of those $30 Lightning OTFs, they're still a lot of fun to sit and play with if you want something to fidget with on a budget. OTFs are just fun if they're legal in your area. Next up, we had to have a Benchmade in here. Had to have an access lock knife of some kind, I guess is a better thing to say now because the patent's expired and everybody can use it. The access lock, they have to call it other things, but my favorite's still the 940. I don't know, it's just the balance of the blade or something like that. I have several Benchmades and I have several knives with access locks. I have a Hogue Ritter RSK. I have a, Master Art Perpetua. Like I've had several, but I still just find the 940 with, like I said, where's the balance of the blade or whatever to be the most fun to fidget with. But all of them are pretty fun. Pretty much any of the access lock knives are still a lot of fun. I really enjoy playing with this. Now these aren't terribly inexpensive anymore, unfortunately. $169 for the basic one, which is S30V and G10 scales. This is a 940-1 with the S90V and the carbon fiber. I still like this one a lot. These are like $280, right around there. But I really do like it. Oh, by the way, the UTX-85, forgot the price, about $238 to start. So sorry, I'm trying to get all the prices in here, but I got a lot of knives to get through, and I do kind of miss it every now and then. But yeah, I just love the 940. Just a knife that's just a whole lot of fun. And also, great EDC knife to boot. Very light, all that stuff. Next up, this is one I guarantee you have not seen, at least in video, because they just came out, and I just got it yesterday. But I really wanted to get it on here because it has impressed me so much. This is one that I'm going to slightly call another one that's just an indicative one, but I'm going to have another knife of this sort of style for the next one. But this is a front flipper. I have to have some front flippers. This is the Real Steel Rocot or Rocote. I'm not quite sure exactly how to pronounce it yet. I could have put the Civivi McKenna in here. Very nice little front flipper. The Real Steel Metamorph. I could have put that in here. I put this one in because it has multiple deployment methods, which I really like that. Front flipper works great. No problem there. Just the right amount of jimping. Runs on bearings. Very, very smooth. It also has thumb deployment. And if you want to be very discreet and not freak anybody out, very easy. It's got a nice, you can't call it a nail nick. It's much larger than that. Very easy to just two-hand deploy if you don't want to freak anybody out. And it looks pretty freaking cool, too, I do have to say. I am kind of impressed with the looks on this. In an N690 steel, about $75 is what these are going to retail for. If you search for them on the internet right now, at the time of putting this out, you're probably not going to see them too many places. I only found one place, and then you can also get them straight from Real Steel for like 90 something if you want to pay full MSRP and just get one soon. But pretty cool knife and a lot of fun to play with. I really enjoyed it. Very drop shutty, just awesome. And it's a good full-size knife. A lot of front flippers are pretty small. Speaking of front flippers that aren't very small, we'll bust out the next one here. We have the Artisan Cutlery Centauri. This is a Ray Laconico design, and I am enamored with it. I gave it a very, very positive review. There is a mini one coming out. This is the full size, so like I said, this is another kind of larger front flipper. I like bigger front flippers. One of the easiest front flippers I've ever used. They're about $200. I don't know if in the smaller one they're going to come out with some in less expensive materials. I'm not sure about that. But really nice ergos, very slim, very light, very easy to carry. Amazing little pocket clip. That doesn't matter. I'm going into review mode. We're just talking about fun. Very drop shutty, very smooth. And honestly, one of the easiest front flippers I have ever used. Makes a good sound, especially for one side being just all carbon. Sometimes a lot of carbon makes a knife not sound that great, but this one still sounds amazing. Love the Centauri. It's a whole lot of fun to play with, and been carried a whole lot since I got it, I do have to admit it. Thank you very much to Nick Shabazz for sending this to me and for giving it to me for my birthday. So yeah, this is mine now. That's why it made the list. It wasn't on the list until this morning when he just said I could have it for my birthday. So thank you, Nick. That's very, very cool. Next up, this is one that I know for sure was in the last one, and it's another fifth pocket knife, and I just like fifth pocket knives. They're a lot of fun to play with, and it's one that is a bit less expensive. We have the Kaiser Mini Sheepdog. It's fun not only because it looks a bit silly, but it is very useful. The newer ones have 154 cm. They're $69, and it's pretty easy to use. It is a very useful knife, but the action on these things are just silly. Like, that tiny of a blade, you can see I have to shake it a little bit, but that tiny of a blade, that short of a blade, normally they won't fall like that, but this blade is so heavy that it will. And it'll, again, it's another knife you can just fit in that fifth pocket. You can carry a bigger, more serious knife, and then you just have this to sit and fiddle with, and it's great. And this is a rare knife that if you just want something that's fun to play with, they do make these up to $300 with, you know, full titanium and Damascus blades and all that. I like the $69 one better because it's just, I think the action's better. I think the action is better than it is on the titanium ones because this is a liner lock and there's not as much pressure on the blade. I don't know what it is about it, but I like the action on the cheaper Vanguard ones better. It's just so much fun. I just really like it, and I'm always amazed at how well it closes for having such a small little blade. It's just a lot of fun. Next up, we have another Spyderco. This is one that's just really grown on me. Mostly because of maybe the uniqueness of the deployment method, but this is the Spyderco Ikuchi. Very slim, kind of gentlemanly knife, but it has this unique kind of wheel flipper on it, and it's just so much fun to play with. Compression lock again, falls right shut, and very smooth. It is a Tai Chung Spyderco. About $140 for one of these. Really not too horrible for a Tai Chung Spyderco. S30V, peel ply carbon. But I just really like that wheel flipper. It's just a lot of fun, and especially if you have a whole lot of knives, you get flipper fatigue sometimes. Not only in just that you're tired of flippers, but you know the tip of your middle finger gets pretty sore, and this is just different, so it doesn't bother it as much. So I just really do enjoy this a whole lot. I think the Ikuchi is just a blast, and it's fun to look at too. It's kind of crazy, but I like it. Speaking of things that look a bit crazy, I'd be remiss not to include this. This is the Bestech Malware Todd Knife and Tool Design. A very good friend of mine, more popularly known to some of you as Zelric42 out here on the YouTubes. But he designed this with his brother, made by Bestech, and it's crazy looking, like I said. But the action on this is so good. Bestech is really nailing the actions. I say lately, this knife is actually a more than a year old, but. And you can Spidey flick it and all that. It still has multiple deployment methods. Like I said, I like that a lot. You can thumb flick it, all those good things. But the action is just very smooth. Detent's perfect. It's just a lot of fun to play with. Really enjoy the Malware a whole lot. And don't feature it in enough videos, but it's one that I cannot let go of, even though I have no reason to keep it other than it's cool. And that's usually not enough for me to keep a knife around. But this one I just really enjoy. Next up, definitely, we only have two left. This next one is definitely in that budget range. The one I'm going to use is just the craziest looking one, but pretty much any honey badger. This is the large size Warren Cleaver. But again, these just have amazing action. $35 to $55. This is up more than that $55 range because it's a big one with D2, but they make HCR 13 ones if you just want something to fidget with that are still, the action on all of them is just as good. This one's maybe a bit drop shuttier because it's a large one, you know, it's just physics. But, oh, they're so much fun. The flipper action's great, you know, Spidey flicking, it's easy as could be. It's just, it's just a fantastic, fun little thing to play with. And the price isn't bad. Like you're not super worried about it if anything happens to it. You know, it's just not the end of the planet. And a lot of people use these for modding, even for like practice on modding as they're first getting into it. And they're a great candidate for that. I did it myself. Just a really, really fun knife. Highly recommend these. And I'll put a link to the review of this particular one down below. But lastly is definitely my favorite fidget knife now. And it's one that I was kind of resistant towards at the beginning, but you guys convinced me to get one, and now I like it. This one does have aftermarket scales on it, but it's a Spyderco Smock. I like it because all the different ways you can deploy it. You can just use it like a regular flipper. It is a button-activated compression lock, which is really, really cool. So you can see instead of pulling the bar off to the side like you normally would, you just have that little button, and it just falls shut. It's super falls shutty. You can, I put my hand right, you can front flick it. You can Spidey flick it when you don't have a tripod in your way. You can Spidey flick it. You can thumb flick it. And if you do like me and tear it apart and remove the second detemp ball, which a lot of us do that own smocks, it goes right back in. You can return it right back. It's just a little ball on a spring. That second detemp ball was put there, I guess, for legal reasons. Some places wouldn't like you to have that. I don't know those places, but that's what they say. I've never seen a knife law that specific. But if you take that out, it works just like any other button lock. You can flick it out just like you can on the Mordax or whatever. So there's 5 different ways to open this thing, and all of them work, and all of them are fun. So how can you call it anything other than my favorite fidget knife? It just is. You can sit around, and if you're having a particularly long fidget session and your hand gets tired, you can just switch to another method. So I really do enjoy this mod. But that is my list. Good. I kept this at 22 minutes. I was aiming for under 25. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. There are going to be links to all of the individual reviews down below of the ones that I have reviewed. I know I've not reviewed the Rocot, and I think that's probably it. I think maybe I have reviewed all the other ones, but there will be links down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.